Hat, home of brilliant children's books.
Hello, my name is Mark Dory and welcome to another exciting Tomser Cat book review, where we look at loads of books and give you a brief review and tell you our star ratings. So today I'm without Seren because, I think Seren, we've done this book on an audio trip again, but I think Seren was listening to some music, so she missed a lot of the book. She did hear some of the book, but we got this book on Borrow Box, and well, it's just me reviewing it today. And today I'm going to be reviewing The Hatmakers, which is the first book from a British actress, actually, Tamzin Merchant. And The Hatmakers is actually set in old London town, so to speak, around the time of George III. Okay, so we're going back a couple of hundred years to George III. So what I'm going to do is I will read the blurb. As it was an audiobook, I've got the blurb here. Cordelia comes from a long line of magical milliners who weave alchemy and enchantment into every hat. In Cordelia's world, making and crafting items such as hats, cloaks, watches, boots and gloves from magical ingredients is a rare and ancient skill, and only a few special maker families remain. When Cordelia's father Prospero and his ship, the Jolly Bonnet, are lost at sea during a mission to collect hat ingredients, Cordelia is determined to find him. But Uncle Tiberius and Aunt Ariadne have no time to help the little hat maker. For an ancient rivalry between the maker families is threatening to surface. Worse, someone seems to be using maker magic to start a war. It's up to Cordelia to find out who and why. So, we've got a novel set a few hundred years ago, or a kid's book set a few hundred years ago, about hat makers. But these are no ordinary hat makers. There's a guild of makers, and there's glove makers, there's cloak makers, there's shoe makers, watch makers. And these makers have got a special sort of license to make their stuff. So Cordelia is from the hat maker family, but she's only young, she's not 16 yet, so she's not able to make her own hats. But with all of these things, hats, cloaks, watches, shoes, etc., they're not normal hats and cloaks as we would know them. They have magical ingredients. So whoever wears them, say they've got a confidence hat, they will become much more confident. And if they've got I don't know why anyone would want an angry hat, they would become an angry person. So these hats are imbued with special magical ingredients. And right at the start of this book, Cordelia's dad, Prospero, who's a captain on a ship, he's gone out sailing for some magical hat ingredients to put into their hats. And his ship gets shipwrecked and sunk, and all are lost. So it opens rather sadly, but Cordelia, for some reason, is convinced that her father is not lost, and she wants to find out where he is, if he's still alive, and where he is. Now, with all these hats and everything else, they have special abilities, as I told you, and special ingredients. But with all of this, there is a war, or a threatened war, going on with the King of France and George III. And the king seems to have gone a bit loopy. George III seems to have gone a bit loopy, and no one knows why. And the king is sending horrible letters to the king's daughter, Georgina. And so there's this tension building up, and there's going to be a war between France and England. And so they are ordered to make peace garments. So peace hats, peace cloaks, peace watches, peace shoes, with special magic ingredients, so that when the king puts them on, that he will be peaceful and so peace will break out rather than war. But as they're making all of these objects, all these special objects, it's strange, but they start to go missing. There's a number of thefts, and all of these peace items start to go missing. And the king is coming over to meet, the King of France is coming over to meet King George III, and they need these peace garments as soon as possible to stop a terrible war breaking out. And the war is not only between countries either, because in the past there's been a feud between all the makers. So the hat makers, the shoe makers, the cloak makers, the watch makers, they've all fallen out with each other, and the guild is no longer a happy guild, and they're in competition with each other. So they all suspect each other of nicking each other's peace garments, and well, it's just chaos. So Cordelia sets out to find out who the real culprit is and to try and stop a war. Well, the audio book is written by Tamzin Merchant, but she also narrates it, and she is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I mean, she's written the words, but she's also an actress. She's starred in Pride and Prejudice, the Pride and Prejudice film, and she's brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant at narrating her own book. There's brilliant voices and this, that and the other. And the story, well, the story is brilliant. It's one of the best stories that I've read in a long time. It was just great. The way it captured everything. The characters are beautifully drawn and brilliant. So it won't come as a surprise to know that I'm going to give this 5 stars. Yeah, 5 stars. We as a family absolutely loved it, and yeah, it's a 5-star read. So that's it. It's The Hatmakers. We really recommend you read this one or listen to it, by Tamzin Merchant. This is book 1 in the series, so it doesn't end after book 1, and there's book 2, which hasn't come out on audiobook yet, but I've just downloaded an ebook copy, so I might be reading this to the girls, and that's called The Mapmakers. But Tamzin Merchant, The Hatmakers, 5-star, honestly brilliant. And as always, if you are enjoying these reviews, why not like, subscribe and click the bell, and you'll never miss another episode. Well, that's all from me for now. And look, I am wearing a hat. And you were wondering all along, weren't you? Why is he wearing a hat? Well, it's really boiling. Hottest day in September so far. Really boiling, and the Hatmakers and a hat. See you soon.